What's up, everybody? Welcome into another SBR video. I am the big man on campus here talking a little college football playoff, getting you ready for the bowl season, which I might add is catching up to us. We got Army, Navy. Then the week later, it's bowl season, but it's time to get prepared for that. We saw the college football playoff come out today. We have our opinion. Some people like it. Some people don't. Some people think their team should be in. We'll talk about that more. We'll get look at a couple numbers here. You already have some numbers out for the Final Four game, so we'll talk about those. I'm going to bring in my co-host here. He's a new guest, but we had some camera issues. Maybe this will go in. Maybe it'll work at some point. I don't know. Let's bring in our co-host. It's Jack McGuire from Barstool Sports. Jack Mack, the college football guy at Barstool. How do you like having that title, Jack Mack? You're the guy I had to pick when they told me you got to get a college football guy, and I said, okay. It's not even funny. We're going to Jack Mack. We're going to the Bronx. We're grabbing Jack Mack.
Going to the Bronx.
Fordham, stand up. What do you think, Jack Mack? What's happening?
No. I'm happy to be here. No, the camera issues, we were trying to figure it out. There's something wrong with my browser, but no, I'm happy to be here. I pumped up. Thanks for having me. It's happy. I know we've interacted on Twitter for a little bit, but happy to finally be talking to you. I know tried to hop on your radio show once or twice, but kind of fell a little miscommunication on my end, but happy to be here. Let's talk a little college football.
You're a good guy, Jack Mack, and you're a smart college football man. But by the way, you're from Connecticut, aren't you? You have quite the football program up there, up at UConn.
Funny enough, UConn football is what made me fall in love with college football. So it's kind of ironic, but I grew up going to. So they went D1 when I was like a little kid, and my dad got season tickets. And I mean, I'm sure you remember when they were kind of a little bit good when Randy Edsall was there and they were still in the Big East. But I loved going to those games, and that's what got me into college football. And the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, quite the team to have to root for, I guess. I mean, I guess you have the good basketball program, so that's not bad. But let's get into it, Jack Mack. Obviously, college football playoff talk, that's what we're talking here. We'll go over some of the bowl games. I know you and I talked about a few, and we'll give a look at some of these numbers coming out. Obviously, the Final Four is set. I don't think anyone's quite surprised by it. I heard a lot of people saying that they thought Georgia should be in there. And look, if you're ranking the top 4 teams overall, then yes. Georgia maybe could be in there, but look, I have a problem with Oklahoma. Look, Jack Mack, I don't know if you know, but I hate the Big 12. I think it's a brutal fraud conference. This team beat one ranked team all season. Their defense is fucking terrible. I'm sick of the Big 12. It's like we always have to like bow down to it and everything. I know Georgia lost LSU by 3 touchdowns, and I know they played Austin Peay in Middle Tennessee, but at the end of the day, I'm fucking sick of the Big 12. How do you feel about the rankings? Obviously, the first 3 we have to put in there. They're deserving of it. But did you think they got it right?
Yeah, I was fine with it. It's when I went to bed last night, it's what I thought was going to happen. I think it comes down to best first deserving. And like if you and I were bookmakers, I think that we'd have a different top 4. It'd probably be Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, and then probably the 4th highest rated Vegas team. Maybe it'd either be Notre Dame or Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma would probably sneak in there. But I think at the end of the day, Oklahoma, they're in a Power 5 conference. They went 11-1 in the regular season, losing only once on a neutral field by 3 points. And then they avenged that loss yesterday. I understand why you got to put them in. They're not as good as Georgia, but Georgia, I mean, what happens on the field matters. It has to matter. I think if it doesn't matter, then why do we watch the games outside of course, you and I would be fine because we'd be betting them. But I want the on-the-field product to matter. But I can listen to an argument that Georgia should have been in, but I'm fine with it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm fine with all of it. I think Oklahoma's going to be dispatched quickly, but at the end of the day, I would like to have seen Georgia play Oklahoma again or Alabama again. But again, look, if you want to get into the Final Four, you shouldn't lose and blow a big lead like you did yesterday.
Exactly, they had their shot yesterday. They were up. They were up 2 touchdowns, and you could have said that was pretty much a playing game for them, and they lost it. So at the end of the day, they had their shot yesterday. They were up 2 touchdowns, and they blew it. They made some questionable calls, the fake punt, but
the fake punt was terrible.
You mentioned that I'm from Connecticut, grew up UConn guy, but I also grew up Jets, Mets, and Knicks. So I have some brutal sports fandom history, but thank God I'm not a Atlanta sports fan or just Georgia as a whole, because man, oh man, I mean, just everyone's talked about it, but just the dagger of getting beat by the backup. I know they're not typical backups, but back-to-back years like that, I feel for Georgia fans. It's just brutal. It's a brutal sport. That's why we love it, though.
Yeah, but again, you can't lose LSU by 20 points. You can't lose to Alabama being up double digits. We're talking with Jack Mack, Barstool Sports, college football expert, the king of college football. Do you consider yourself the king of college football, Barstool, Jack? Does anyone know more than you?
I would put my knowledge up against anybody in the building, but there's some people.
Who would be the closest?
Prez knows a lot. Dave Portnoy, Big Cat does, of course.
Sure.
And then Casey also knows a decent amount. There's a decent amount for a Northeast company. There's a lot of college football. There's a lot of college football guys in the building, and I love the environment, but I would put my knowledge up against anybody. Maybe Big Cat and Portnoy know a little bit more history just because they're older. But no, it's a college football rich company for sure.
Yeah, you've impressed me a lot this year, Jack Mack. You're good at college football. You read a lot of great articles. I remember when I first, when you're kind of looking for that football content, you started doing it as an intern, I know, and you really started posting a lot of like meaty blogs, a lot of good info. And I'm cool with Reegs. I have Reegs on my college basketball shows, and he's very detailed in his blogs. And I know you're kind of the college football version of him. So, I definitely am happy to have you. But let's kind of look at these numbers here for the college football playoff. I mean, we're going to start it out with Alabama and Oklahoma. And you and I were talking about before the show. I mean, you have a total at 79 to open up well, it's the second game, but it's the first game. 14 that we're going to talk about. 14 is your side here. I said to you, 79 is a lot of points. And look, we know what the public's going to do here. They're going to bet the over. You look at the limited amount of bets already coming in, already on the over. Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, the up-tempo offenses, the terrible defenses. But we saw yesterday where you get a defense that's somewhat, comprehensible, where they can actually stop you, do something. And Oklahoma can be dealt with a little bit. I feel like Alabama's going to, Jack, they're a great defense. How do you think Oklahoma's offense is going to deal with that defense? Because you can move the ball in Alabama, but they're big, they're strong, they're fast, they're really every position. It's very difficult to run on them. 79, you need a lot of things to go your way.
Yeah, it's that number. I mean, it didn't shock me when I saw it because, I was expecting a big number, and I was expecting Alabama, Oklahoma. I was expecting a big number to show up, but I agree with you. It's kind of like, oh man, I should take the under. But I've also, I think we saw yesterday from Jake Fromm that the Alabama defense, specifically the secondary, can be tested and it can be exposed a bit. And I think Kyler and Jake Fromm, they're not exactly the same player, of course, but Kyler's a little bit more mobile. I would say Jake Fromm's probably a little bit more of an NFL build. But I still think, the thing is, if you think about Saban's history, the players that have beaten him, Kyler Murray fits the mold perfectly. Shea Patterson, when he was at Ole Miss before Jim Harbaugh brought him in and didn't allow him to be a mobile quarterback. Then actually, never mind. I don't think Shea Patterson beat him. I meant Chad Kelly. Johnny Manziel. Even when Oklahoma beat them in the Sugar Bowl that year, it was Trevor Knight who was a mobile quarterback. So the thing is, I think a team could put up big points on Alabama. And then in turn, you got on the other side, You got a defense that we should talk about Tua's health, but may be able to light up. Would be lit up by an Alabama offense that is the most prolific we've ever seen from Nick Saban Alabama team.
Yeah, I've talked about the ineptness of Oklahoma's defense. They're horrible. I got to look at and maybe you could tell me the peripherals of, you look at yesterday. I thought, little Jordan Humphrey and those guys at Texas could give Texas problem all day because they're so big, and Oklahoma's defensive backs are so small. They've had issues in coverage all year. But, look, I don't think Oklahoma can't stop anybody. I don't think they could stop you, me, and 9 listeners, frankly. But again, well, maybe they could stop me because I'm kind of overweight, but either way, you have Oklahoma, obviously 584 yards a game. But again, 80 is a lot of points. You need 80 points for this to go over. Plus, it's a huge game. It's a big magnitude type of game. You're obviously going to turn it up a little bit. Alabama just seems to make everyone look a little bit smaller when they play them, as far as you're just being faster and quicker and more athletic and stronger and tougher. Plus, Nick Saban, you mentioned it to me before the show. Plenty of time to prepare here. He's going to be ready for Kyler Murray. But like you said, these are typically the quarterbacks that give Alabama a little bit of trouble. Fromm was great yesterday. I really enjoyed watching him. He was terrific. The play on the punt was poor, but Nick's not going to make those bad decisions. I think you can shut Kyler Murray down if you're Nick Saban. You have a whole month to prepare. You just got to contain him. What's Marquise Brown's status as well? I mean, if he doesn't play, Oklahoma has no shot.
Yeah, Marquise, that's a very interesting aspect that we can't forget about, because I saw during the college football playoff show, Reese Davis mentioned that he heard that Marquise Brown would be ready to go for the college football playoff, but then Lincoln Riley came on, and from his tone when I was listening to him, it didn't sound great. I mean, obviously, maybe Lincoln Riley, he probably doesn't. Maybe he's playing a little games in the media. We've seen coaches do this before, where they make it seem one way and it's the other. They're playing a little games, but that's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on. I mean, the guy looked deflated on the sideline. I don't know if you saw it; he was crying, and I mean I'd probably be crying too if I was him. I mean, it was coming down to the wire, and he was out on the sideline with an injury, so it stinks. I really hope he can play, but even if he does play, is he 100%? He's gonna need to be. I know they still have CeeDee Lamb, and then the tight end Grant. I don't know how to say his last name. Something with a C. Yeah, there we go. That can help expose this Alabama team. Another thing that I want to check in on as I'm talking, I want to see if Rodney Anderson, the running back, is potentially going to play, because I remember seeing earlier in the year that he may be able to come back for the Big 12 title game, and we got an extra 4 weeks, so maybe he can sneak back on the field. And we saw what he did to a Georgia team last year. He really was the guy that really exposed them, and obviously they ended up losing that game. But if he can get on the field and Hollywood Brown get on the field, I'll definitely be looking at Oklahoma plus 14.
Taking the points. The other game's interesting. I mean, you're getting 11.5 here with Notre Dame, and let's just dispel the elephant in the room. You can beat Clemson through the air. I mean, Kellen Mond put up 430 on Clemson. You look at Jake Bentley put up over 500 yards through the air and 5 touchdowns on Clemson. Ian Book is a terrific player. He's a terrific quarterback. I mean, I think Notre Dame, you're top 30 in both scoring defense and scoring offense. It's been a special season. We're kind of just forgetting about the Irish. Look, I like the dog here. I think this game's a close one. I think it comes down to the wire. I think both these teams are really good. But, look, we know how good Clemson's run defense is. But, again, like Alabama, you can beat them through the air. I think that's been evident. Look, here's what I'm going to say about Clemson, and I don't have a problem saying this. What do we have here with this team? Okay, because I don't know about you, Jack, but who have they really beaten? Seriously. I mean, this schedule's pathetic. It's a joke. The ACC's pathetic. You and I both know it. Am I nuts here? I know Clemson's good. I'm not going to say they aren't, but we don't really have a lot to go off with them, frankly.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's one of those things that, like, even when I was talking with some buddies, even who they're pretty knowledgeable about college football, but they were talking about if why is Clemson without a doubt in, but whenever you mention UCF being brought in, you scoff at it. And I was like, you know what? That's actually a pretty good point because if you look at the differences in strength of schedule, it's not that much. I mean, Clemson's probably like around 90, UCF's probably around 110, 115. And obviously, Clemson's the better team. They probably open up as like a 14-point favorite against UCF, maybe 10, probably even more than 15. What am I saying? But that's something that is definitely a concern. But at the end of the day, I think you have to believe in this team because they have a great coaching staff. One, you have a defensive line littered with NFL players. Two, and you have the secondary is definitely a concern. And then you have an offense that is littered with 5-star and 4-star athletes. And I understand the strength of schedule, and that's a concern. And I think I'm with you where I lean to the dog here. But I would say Clemson, without a doubt, in my mind, is the second best team, just because they've dismantled the competition since Trevor Lawrence got back from that injury that he suffered in the Syracuse game. But I mean, your cynicism about them, it's something that I look at and I'm like, you know what, you're not wrong. I can't say like, oh, I can't laugh in your face like, oh, what an idiot. Like, I think that's definitely a concern when you're considering Clemson as a whole coming into this game, and then potentially when they take on the winner of Alabama, Oklahoma.
Who do you think the best team Clemson played this year is? Syracuse?
Probably A&M.
Or yeah, A&M?
A&M, if I had to like, yeah, and yeah, I would say it's A&M.
Amazing.
I'm sure you do something similar, but I do every week. I put together my own power ratings and base them off of final the what spreads closed at and own personal opinion statistics. And I think I probably have Texas A&M probably a point or two higher than NC State, and then their third best team is probably Syracuse. And then they played a bunch of very average teams, like not a lot of no victories over a Georgia or a, let me think, who else, or Notre Dame. But who has Notre Dame played in your opinion? Stanford? Stanford's probably their best one.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think for me, for Notre Dame, I wish they would just join a conference. I mean, that would be
Me too.
that would be helpful. But yeah, I mean, I guess people will say, well, you know, they go out and they play. You know, they played Michigan, they beat them. You know,
Yes, that's their best one. Yeah,
I mean,
completely forgot about
and
that.
keep in mind, I mean, they beat Northwestern by double digits.
Yep.
You know, beat Syracuse badly. The problem is this year, Jack, is Notre Dame or Virginia Tech was down. I mean,
Florida State.
Navy's always kind of a tough game. They were down.
Florida
USC
State's
was down. Florida State, yeah. So, you know, in past seasons, they may have not been here, but and that's why you look at this game and you say, are both teams deserving of being here? I guess because they're undefeated, but it's like, you know, it's like the thing people used to say about Gonzaga in basketball, where you know they would play, you know, one or two good teams maybe in the non-conference, and then play in the West Coast Conference. Well, are they really deserving? They get to the big dance and they lose. You know, we'll see. I like the points here though for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns I've had with Clemson is their passing, but uh, I think their passing defense, but I think they've figured out a little bit. Some of those numbers that Jake Bentley put up are concerning to me in that final game because it seemed like they turned somewhat of a corner where how they when they played Ryan Finley, because at NC State passing attacks probably a top 25 passing attack in the country, and they just dominated that game. But one of the good things for it's just How is we have to the thing that concerns me is can Notre Dame's offensive line step up? In adjusted sack rate, they rank 33rd. That's pretty good. Clemson ranks 6th on defense. But if you look at statistics that are such as like line yards, opportunity rate, power success, stuff rate, Notre Dame's ranking in the bottom 30, where Clemson's ranking in the top 10 in all of those statistics. So the Notre Dame offensive line against Clemson's defensive line that has the likes of Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, and I'm blanking on the other guys' names, but just the loaded, Klein Farrell, just a loaded team. And then you have Xavier Howard, I think, the freshman 5-star coming off the edge as well. It's a ridiculous team. And so that's one of those things that we're going to have to keep an eye on with in the trenches. Can Notre Dame contain those guys and keep, Ian Book upright and have Dexter Williams get going? Because we know that guy is one of their keys to success.
Anything before we get into the bowls? You look into Army Navy at all? You have anything on that?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm sure you've heard this stat, but the under in the past 30 service academies games is hitting at like an 80% rate. The second it opened, I bet it under. Like I looked at both their defenses a little bit and was like, it looks good enough. But for obvious reasons, I mean, it's just two triple option offenses. The clock's going to be running. These two teams know each other like the back of their hand, and I'll be taking the under in that one. Maybe I'll have a side, but the thing is, it's just Army's been good, Navy's been down, but this is one of those games. Even when Navy was up and Army was down, it seemed like it was always close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know this, Jack Mack, but I'm a military school professional. I'm very good at military schools, and look, Army is they're on another level. I know we can kind of throw out everything because it's Navy, and they're going to get up for this game, but I mean, Army is really good. I mean, they're really good on both sides of the football. I wonder about Navy. I mean, they've had quarterback problems all year. Who's the quarterback? Is it Abe? Is it Perry? Who is it? I kind of like laying the points here, frankly. But you have nice weather here, 36. It's going to be cold, but it'll be sunny. No precipitation to speak of. Last year, obviously, remember what happened last year.
Of course.
Let's get into a couple of these bowl games. Interesting game. Basically the first game out of the chute here. Arizona State, Fresno State in the what is this? The Las Vegas Bowl. Fresno State's really good, man. I bet against them last night. Didn't have any luck. They seem to play better in the snow than Boise. Herm Edwards, obviously, I feel like for me, Jack Mack, I'm a big bowl guy because I enjoy, locating information that maybe other people don't have. What's the motivation factor for some of these teams? And I think for Fresno, both these teams would be excited, but I wonder about Arizona State. Are they going to be one of those teams that says, okay, well, we're happy to be here. Maybe we overachieved a bit. You look at that kind of stuff, right? What do you think about this game? Anything?
I mean, I haven't seen a line yet. I completely agree. That's something
I'd probably say Fresno 4.
Yeah, like that's one of those things. If anyone's listening that wants to look into betting this bowl season, you got to look at what's the motivation. Do you have a team that's just like, oh, happy to be here? I remember last year in the bowl game, this specific one, I think it was Boise, Oregon, and that was after Willie Taggart left. And Oregon, I think Royce Freeman just decided he wasn't going to play, and Boise just blew the doors off of Oregon. Is that the same situation here with Arizona State? Not the same, because I mean that was a team that thought was going to have a bad year, and they're probably pumped up to be in a bowl game first year under a new head coach. But I'm with you. I like Fresno State. I got burned last night. I was on Boise. Of course, that missed extra point. Anytime I lose a bet on a missed extra point, I die a little inside. But I still like Fresno State. I'll have to take a look a little bit more at the matchup, but
Fresno's defense is really good, man. They are really good. This one, I wonder about this one. Boca Raton, total might be 31 in this game.
Yeah, it could be 25.
Yeah, UAB, Northern Illinois. This one's going to be ugly. Both very good defensively. Both love to run the ball. I don't know how much you've seen of AJ Erdley, but he is brutal. I mean, I know yesterday was decent, but he's a brutal quarterback.
Yeah, I was high on him coming into the year, but he just I think he's had injury issues. He's been brutal. Yeah, the UAB. I mean, what a story from the program being shut down to winning the Conference USA Championship 2 years later. But
Bill Clark's hell of a coach, man.
Hell of a coach. But yeah, I'll definitely be looking at the under there. That's one of those things. I mean, those are 2 conference champions. We'll have to see how much do those 2 teams. I think those are the games that I think you cap in a regular way because you have 2 G5 teams. It's a standalone ESPN game. Those the UAB guys, they're usually not on ESPN. NIU, obviously they play MACtion, but on those Tuesday, Wednesday games. But those 2 teams I think will be pumped up. But again, like you said, we just got to do our research, read the local Tribune papers with that are paying the guy $100 per article. You got to read those, get the quotes, see if the players are pumped up. And especially these games that I like to look at location. I think a team is probably going to be a little bit more motivated to play in Boca Raton than they are motivated to play in Detroit. But also, I remember a few years ago, you need to check if the team's going to Hawaii, are they treating it like a vacation or are they treating it like a game? And
yeah, you got La Tech going out there this year. Skip Holtz's crew.
It stinks that it's not on Christmas Eve anymore. That used to be the degenerate special. That now it's moved off and it's just a random game now. It's sad.
Wait, so there's no bowl games on Christmas Eve?
No, it's really sad.
Who's the dumbass that did that?
I don't know why. I don't know why ESPN thought that was a good idea. That probably got a great rating every year because there was 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve,
and you just turn your TV on and let it sit on it.
You just let it sit on it, and
occasionally look over.
You look over. Maybe you have family over. Maybe you're trying to avoid the family. Maybe you're just watching with the family. It was always a great game, and now it's dead. But no, that's La Tech. Who are they playing?
Hawaii. They play Hawaii in the Hawaii Bowl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Hawaii.
I'll tell you what, though, and being gambling since I was a kid. I mean, I've been through a lot, and I remember. I will think this will cut down on excitement at Christmas because the worst beat I've ever had was the 2014 Bahamas Bowl with and that was on Christmas Eve, and I remember it ruined.
I remember that.
It ruined Christmas basically, but you won't have that this year. You won't have to worry about being the dickhead at Christmas that's pissed off because you took a lot of tech and they're getting fucking rolled. So, hey, one I wanted to make people aware of. I think this one will have an interesting motivation angle. I think that a team that is, I don't know how they're at all interested. TCU, I think they're done. Cal's probably gonna be one of the more excited teams I think to be in a bowl. It's been a long time since they've had success at Cal. They get a new, a young coach, great defense. TCU stinks. They suck. TCU, Jack.
It's just, I completely agree with you in terms of how is TCU going to get up for this game? It's just, I bet Cal yesterday, and I can't watch that offense with my money on that team. That was, I mean, it wasn't a bad beat in any way that they lost. I lost that bet. Sanford just outplayed them, but it was just that offense that's got to be one of the worst offenses in the country. But yeah, that's the Cheez-It Bowl. The Cheez-It Bowl.
16th in total defense for Cal, but yeah, we'll start to get some numbers for these. Maybe we'll have you back on a little bit closer to getting into the bowls. We'll do some breakdowns, you and I, and go over some of these. But overall, it should be a great Final Four. It should be a great bowl season. It always is. But I think definitely it's going to be a little less interesting now that there's no bowl games on Christmas Eve and even the day of, Christmas Eve, the 2 o'clock game, the Bahamas. When's the Bahamas Bowl now? What is that, like a day before?
I think it's.
That is really lame.
But it's still at like 12 p.m. But it's early. I'm looking for it. Another game I'm definitely looking at from a motivational aspect is the Auto Nation Cure Bowl. Tulane. This is a team that hasn't been in a bowl game since I think like 1980 or something.
Oh, really?
They're going to be pumped up to be there. Willie Fritz is a great coach in my book. I'm gonna have to. Louisiana Lafayette definitely had a great year, but I'm gonna have to keep an eye on. I'm gonna have to look up a little bit on their rushing defense. I know Louisiana Lafayette had a pretty good offense, but they probably haven't seen. Well, a good thing is Louisiana Lafayette, I think, probably played Georgia Southern this year. That's another triple option offense. But Tulane has that weird triple option shotgun offense. That's a team that I'll be looking at. Another one is Buffalo. I don't think they've ever won a bowl game in their history. This is the first time they've been in one in a few years. And then also, I think this is a really good spot for LSU. I know everyone's going to be looking at UCF, but I think that will kind of – last year you got a sleepy Auburn team. LSU doesn't want to be the Auburn of last year and have to hear from all the UCF fans how they're national champions, blah, 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 blah. So I think it opened at 3.5. I don't know what it is right now, but I'll definitely be looking to get down on LSU.
Great work, Jack Mack. Where can the people find you? I know you'll be having plenty of bowl breakdowns. Where can we find those at?
Yeah, for anybody listening, I post pretty much every day over at barstoolsports.com. You can find me on Twitter at JackMackCFB. It's Mac, M-A-C, not M-A-C-K. You can find me on Instagram there as well. I do the Comeback Season podcast with Casey Smith and Dave Portnoy, El Presidente, every Monday. And yeah, that's pretty much it. No, thanks for having me on, Jeff. I'd happy to come back anytime. And then hopefully next time I'm on, if I'm lucky enough to come back, I'll have my camera figured out.
Yeah, we got to see your beautiful Bronx
face, right?
As they say. Hey, before we let you go, Jack, we're live right now. What do you got anything on tonight's Steeler or Chargers game?
I was about to ask you that. I love the Chargers. I love the Chargers, but I don't know about this game specifically. I've had, I think, a decent NFL year, probably like up just a little bit. I had the Patriots; they just covered, which is good. But you have anything? I mean, I may just roll.
I don't know. I think the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl, honestly. But
interesting.
I don't know. This is a tough game. I lost my play today, so I'm kind of irritated. The fucking Bears, man.
Oh, and they kind of trolled you at the end there.
Oh, they totally trolled me. Yeah. By the way, before we let you go, do you agree that Pugsley's the best pizza in the Bronx?
Oof. Pugsley's is very, very good. Full Moon is pretty good, but way too expensive per slice. There's a restaurant Zero to Nove that has very good like margarita style pizza. They put it in and take it out in a minute. But then if you ever get down here, they opened up a new spot. It's called Fiasco, and that pizza I think is very much underrated. I very much enjoy it. But no, if anybody listening is in New York City, and you want good food, get away from the tourist traps of Times Square of New York City. Come up to the Bronx, go to Arthur Ave. Probably take a cab so you avoid the bad parts of the Bronx a little bit. Go to Arthur Ave. And you can pretty much pick any restaurant around there, and you're gonna get some good food. And then even you can finish off with a cappuccino and a cannoli at one of the cafes. And
let me know. I'll meet you in Pelham Parkway. I'll take it to the best Albanian food in Pelham. We'll go get some burek. It'll be perfect.
The Albanians are taking over Arthur Avenue right now.
Oh yeah, that's what we do, cuz. Come on.
When I got back from Thanksgiving, I went back home to Connecticut. The Arthur Avenue was lined up with Albanian flags. I think it was like in the Flag Day or something recently for Albania. But I saw that, and I was like, the Italians aren't going to like that.
See, but the thing is, Italians, we're like brothers, basically.
No, I bet everyone came together. It's fine, but no, a lot more. All the bars around here that are owned, that Fordham kids go to, they're owned by the Albanians. They treat us very well. So
you don't do nothing stupid in those bars, do you?
No, no stupid. You don't mention a few things. You keep your mouth shut. I need to tell my friends that. One of my friends, funny enough, they were. It was World Cup time, and they were having one of them was walking around with a Serbia jersey, and I was like, buddy, you got to take that bad boy off. You got to get that out of here. You can wear that in New York City, but down here, probably not a great idea.
No. They'll no. I know Albanians that'll beat you up for that.
Yes. I did a little research on it. I didn't realize the history behind it. Crazy.
Yeah, we have a big beef with them. So
I'd love to, when you're up in Pelham, let me know.
I will
come through, and
I
love Albanian food.
Good. Yeah, we'll go get some burek. That's perfect.
Burek.
Yeah. Great stuff, Jack Mack. We'll follow you on Barcelona. And I urge everyone, go check out Jack Mack. He did some great work, great articles. Does the podcast with Casey and Dave, comeback season on Monday. So you're recording that tomorrow. So or it'll be out tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll record that tomorrow. Check that out. We'll a lot to review like we just did, and we'll talk a little college football playoff, but it'll be interesting to hear what Dave is thinking specifically after the Michigan season is officially over. I mean, we'll see them in the championship game, but we'll not championship game, New Year's Six game. Yeah. But no, thanks again for having me on, Jeff. This was awesome. Love talking with you, and hopefully you'll be on a few of the similar sides this bowl season and cash those tickets.
Yeah, we'll do something soon. Great stuff, Jack. Thanks, everyone, for listening. If you're checking this out after the fact, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Look, we're up over 50,000 subscribers, so make sure you keep adding to that. Make sure you're communicating below what you're on and what you like. I'll be on tomorrow morning. Make sure you check that out every day, 10 o'clock a.m. Me and my boy Donnie Wright said we'll be on reliving the weekend in sports. Make sure you check out all the great videos here at SBR. By the way, Jack, before you go, you mentioned you used to watch SBR in high school, didn't you?
Yeah, I remember. No, when I was in high school, I would be surfing the SBR forums like it was my job, and then watching some of the videos. So, no, I mean, SBR has been probably one of my most visited sites in my internet history. That and some of the other forums throughout the internet. I'm sure everyone's been on, but no, SBR has always been a good friend to me.
Awesome. Good stuff, Jack. We'll talk to you again real soon, and we'll see you all next time. Have a great night, and enjoy your Sunday. Bye-bye.